Alright, so today we are going to go over John Frusciante's rehearsal rig. Now this is a video that was posted to the Red Hot Chili Peppers Instagram page of Chad, Flea, and John performing Eddie backstage before one of their shows. You can see Henry even in the background. Now this video is really interesting because it highlights some of the gear John is using backstage, and today I'm going to kind of break it down and kind of discuss the pedal board that he's using is a bit different than what we've seen even for his B rig, his backup rig. So let's get into the video and start discussing all the gear that we see John using. So beginning with the breakdown here, you guys are going to see just a bunch of screenshots and just the video on your screen as we're looking at it together. The guitar, to start off with, at first glance, it looks like the 62 Strat. You know, it's a given. John's rehearsing backstage, probably going to be using his #1 guitar. But I've tried to get just the best angles and screenshots that I can get of the instrument, and to me, if you look at the forearm wear, that doesn't quite look like the 62 Strat to me. It looks more like that 62-esque Strat that we've seen John using on the back end of the Limited Love tour. Whether that guitar is custom shop or the future signature model, whatever is going on. To me, that's what that looks like. It doesn't quite look like the 62 Strat. Now, the angles and just overall footage we get of the guitar are really not the best. So it's possible this is the 62 Strat and just the angles make it kind of look a little off. But to me, looking at that forearm area, there appears to be a lot more wear than what is actually on John's 62 Strat. So I'm leaning towards it being that kind of 62-esque tribute Strat, whatever you want to call it. We've touched on it on the channel before, but to me, that's what it looks like. It doesn't look like John's actual 62 Stratocaster. Now we're going to move on to the amps here, and you see a Marshall Silver Jubilee. Again, another given. And at first glance with the Silver Jubilee, you'd think, oh, this is a new reissue model, the 2555X version. But hold on a minute. We know that John owns multiple vintage Jubilees, and he actually has one that has that 25th anniversary plate missing. And you can actually see the holes in the grill cloth where it would sit. So I'm leaning towards this being that actual Marshall. It's a vintage Jubilee, but just with that 25th anniversary badge just missing off of the front of the amp. That's what I'm leaning towards. Again, really hard to tell because we don't get a close-up version of the amplifier, but keep in mind that John does own a vintage Jubilee that is missing that badge on it. So if you see a Marshall Jubilee like this of John's, you can't say for certain that it is a reissue. There's a very good chance it's probably a vintage one, and that's what I'm leaning towards. Now, of course, we also have his speaker cab, and again, this is another just interesting thing. We know that John prefers B cabinets. He's pretty much stuck with them majority of his career, you know, for multiple reasons. When you have a B cabinet, it's physically lower on the stage compared to the A cabinet when he uses full stacks, so you're going to get less bleed into his mic, but also they just sound different. The B cabs are going to be fuller, and they're just a bit more John Frusciante-esque in tone, essentially, without getting too crazily into it. But in this shot here, he's using an A cabinet. So just something different as well. And he's also on the floor, sitting down. He's not standing up. I'm sure obviously in this room he'll stand up and play, but it's just interesting and worth pointing out that he would actually have an A cabinet backstage, which isn't his normal cabinet. He normally uses a B cabinet. Now, whether or not that's just for the purpose of the room to kind of have some of the speakers angled up higher at him in this space where he's maybe not as concerned about mic bleed and just stuff like that, or he's not trying to be super particular about his tone in the rehearsal room, who knows? But just worth noting that this is kind of really the first time we've seen John using an A cabinet, because even in the studio for Unlimited Love, he used a B cabinet. So odd to see an A cabinet being used by John, even in this context. Now it's at this point we're moving on to the part you guys have all probably really wanted to see discussed, and that's the pedal board John is using backstage. Now again, at first glance, this pedal board looks to be the one that John is using just kind of as his B rig in case his main pedal board goes down, the promotional pedal board that we saw him use way back at the start of the Limited Love era. But it's not. This pedal board is clearly different, and on the screenshots of the stills you guys are seeing on your screen right now, it's different. Looking at the pedal board, there are a few things we can immediately identify, so we're going to run through that first, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of things that are new and a little bit harder to tell. So number one, we have, of course, a tuner, just a Boss tuner on there, probably a TU3. Then you also have the Boss noise suppressor. Those two things, you know, nothing out of the ordinary. We have also his Wilson modded WH10 version 3. Then we have an MXR Super Badass Variac Fuzz. So far, this is the same to his promotional pedal board. But the next pedal is a 2-knob MXR pedal, and it's going to be the Dynacomp. Now, if you guys remember, way back when the Red Hot Chili Peppers performed on Howard Stern, John actually had the Dynacomp on that pedal board, the little promotional pedal board. So that's pretty much a guarantee at what this is. Of course, the lighting, again, in this video, it's kind of that harsh yellow. It's not the best. So this is just what we're going with here. It's more than likely the Dynacomp, he's been sticking with it on his main pedal board as well. It's been used on his promotional pedal board in the past. So a 2-knob MXR pedal, most likely the Dynacomp. The knobs kind of seem to match up in size and everything as well. Skipping over the next 2 pedals on the front row, we're going to move over to the back row real quick. Now, the second pedal on that back tier is going to be one of the MXR reverb pedals, same position that we've seen again on that promotional pedal board, and of course a Boss CE1. You can't have a John Frusciante pedal board without a Boss CE1. All right, now at this point, I've left 3 pedals out of our discussion, and I'm going to put little arrows on your screen so you guys know exactly which one I'm talking about. But the first one we're going to tackle here is a 3-knob Boss pedal on the front row. Now, what's a 3-knob Boss pedal that John has been using a lot lately? Well, it's the Boss SD1. And again, kind of at first glance, you could probably end that discussion of what that pedal is right there. But looking at the pedal a bit closer, number one, the lighting, again, in this video is really weird. It's kind of that yellowy hue, and, John's shirt, I'm willing to bet, is white, and it kind of looks yellow. All the pedals kind of are off-colored, so you can't really go by color, but the pedal does look to be darker than the Boss SD1 yellow that you'd expect, right? That's what I'm seeing. Maybe you guys are seeing that too, but it doesn't appear to be that color yellow, even in this lighting. Now, zooming in a lot closer, I think I'm seeing a Wazacraft switch there, in between the 2 back knobs, the standard Wazacraft switch you always get on all their pedals. That's what I think I'm seeing. And what's a 3-knob Wazacraft pedal that released relatively recently and is kind of a darker than yellow color? Well, the Wazacraft Boss DS1. Now, John has used a DS1 long ago, and maybe, Boss sent him one even early and he's had it for a while, and maybe he's experimenting with it and just having fun with one on his pedal board that, he's not using live, he's just backstage trying out a new distortion pedal. You never know, right? So really here, there's 2 possibilities. It could just be an SD1. It could just be an SD1. Or kind of leaning towards it being a Wazacraft DS1. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing here with that, again, Wazacraft switch between the back 2 knobs and based off the color. It is really hard to tell though, but that's what I'm thinking are the 2 options really for that pedal, but again, leaning towards the DS1 Waza. All right, now we have 2 pedals left to discuss, and at this point we have some more educated guesswork going into this discussion, and I apologize for not being able to just off the top of my head be like, yeah, that's what that is, that's what that is. We don't have a great shot of his board, so I'm just doing my best here, guys. So that back Boss pedal on the second row on the left side. Originally, there was a second MXR reverb pedal there. John's using 2 MXR reverbs, one for a short reverb and one for a longer, kind of more hall reverb, like big reverb essentially. So could that be a Boss RV6, for example? Just replacing one reverb pedal with another one. It's a really good shout, a really good possibility. It also could be a Boss OC5, maybe experimenting with a little bit of octave on his pedal board. It's really hard to say. Again, just the shot of this pedal here, it's clearly a darker Boss pedal, so that's why I'm kind of going RV6 based on what was there originally, as well as, OC5 is a good shout as well. But then what is that MXR pedal on the front row? Now, I'm really leaning towards that front row MXR pedal that's on the very end on the left as being the second MXR reverb pedal. John was using 2 reverbs even on his smaller pedal board, so it makes sense that he'd still have 2 different options for reverb on this little pedal board. But again, then what's that Boss pedal? Now, the last option for that one MXR pedal with 3 knobs on the front row, the very left one again, could be that super badass 78 distortion. That's another 3-knob pedal from MXR that John used actually in the studio and kind of rehearsals for Unlimited Love. So that's another possibility that it could be that pedal there. Again, just pretty much impossible to tell at this point, but I just wanted to throw you guys out some options as to what some of these kind of mystery pedals could be. You know, in the grand scheme of things, this pedal board really isn't that important, and that's why I'm not too concerned with not being able to fully dissect it, not being able to fully tell everything that's going on with it. John's main pedal board is kind of the main star, obviously, of the show. It's what he's using to perform the entire set at night. This is just a pedal board that he's using backstage for rehearsals, as well as probably the rig that would be ran out in case this whole pedal board just went down, although this version of it doesn't have everything you'd expect for him to be able to perform. So maybe they just swap some things quickly on the pedal board for him to mess around with Eddie, and then they'll put everything back on to make it kind of the fail-safe pedal board that can kind of cover 75% of the sounds that he needs for a night. Who knows? But that's the pedal board, and just again, based off the shots we have and the lighting, it's as good as I'm able to do. If you guys can tell what it is, I'd be really shocked. But hey, again, leave your comments down below on what you think is going on with those kind of 3 mystery pedals that we're not 100% sure on. And there you guys go. Just a quick breakdown, hopefully, probably not knowing me, but a breakdown nonetheless of John Frusciante's kind of rehearsal rig that he's been using. Again, just kind of something with a little bit different things going on with that A cabinet. And then again, that Strat, I don't think it's a 62. I think it's that 62 what custom shop, whatever guitar. I don't think it's the real 62. I think it's that other guitar we've seen John using, and then just some different options on the pedal board as well for John. But there you guys go. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please, again, all the comments down below really help feed the YouTube algorithm, and they're greatly appreciated. Leave a like, smash that like button if you guys enjoyed this video. Again, just all helps the algorithm and helps my channel grow. And until the next one, you guys, take care. We'll see you soon.